into your browser to learn more about hosting a show on the best station in the nation, or call our CEO for details, 281-599-9800.
Well, welcome back to the E Factor Radio Show. Hello, friends, family, and world. Now, today is a very special day. You probably say why, because you can see here, I have special guest Ken Powell, one of our producers here, but that's not the only thing. We have joining us via satellite, Roger. Are you there, Roger?
Test. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Here.
Well, let me just give a brief description. Before I do that, Ken, you want to say anything before I get started with Roger?
No, I'm excited. This is part of that new strategy that we're going to employ.
Right.
Which we talked about a couple weeks ago, right?
Yes.
So we're going to be a AI-driven radio show.
Okay. Well, we've had a couple of AI people in here who talk about their use for music and everything, but this is the first time we've had somebody of this caliber on here. So let me just take a moment. I'm going to read you a little bit about his bio. Roger Lloyd, Director of CTI. Roger's the Director of CTI at Rancho Santiago Community College District, where he oversees AI programming, workshops, and community partners. He has led several startups to over $200 million in combined revenue in both retail and artificial intelligence. He has over 15 years of experience in the franchise industry, where he leads one of the fastest growing franchises in the country. Did you notice, not in the state of California where we're located, but in the country?
Yeah, he's the real deal.
He's the real deal. Wow, what an honor to have him.
Yeah, but I just want to point out that you can listen to KCAA all over the country as well, and internationally through kcaaradio.com, right?
Right. But let's hope we get people listening now. This is going to help them later. All right. He has over 15 years of experience. Okay. He founded Treg AI, an artificial intelligence consulting company, in 2015. Back in 2015, I didn't even know AI was around. So
well, for the most part, we'll have to find out if it was around.
Yeah. So we're going to find out a lot of information today. With over 10 years of experience in AI, he has led over 100 AI workshops, consulted on AI literacy over 50 companies, and was co-founder in the JIGG. I'm going to explain what that is. A large language model that was being built in 2016. His passion and goal in life is to ensure everyone in the U.S. is AI literate and effective. All right, so Lloyd, this is new. I know we've had a couple of guests on the show who they talked about the use of AI, and they did music with AI, but you're the first person ever who actually teaches it. So that means your understanding is beyond what everyone else's is. So before we get started, I want you to tell us a little about yourself, and then give me some clarification on what some of these words like CTI, what does that mean? And also the JITGA, is that JITGA?
That is JITGA, yes. JITGA was, we were building JITGA back in, like I said, 2016, 2017, I don't know, it was so many years ago. And you think of JITGA, it stood for Just-in-Time Genius Assistant. Oh. And if you think of what ChatGPT is today as a large language model, that was what we were building back in 2016. So wow. That was one of the things. Today, I oversee a program that supports our foundation, and that is called CTI AI, which is a lot of acronyms. Large language model, JITGA, CTI AI, TruEd. There's too many, right, guys? But CTI AI stands for Customized Training Institute for Artificial Intelligence, and my focus is to help really provide workforce training programs throughout the state of California, utilizing ideally what we call ETP funds or state-funded programs. They can cover the cost of those thanks to employers that put into their payroll taxes. And that includes multi-level, mainly focused, of course, on AI.
Okay, you know what? We're going to get back to that for a minute. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? Because it's interesting to find out. Like I said, this all the AI hype and all the worry about AI taking everyone's job. That just came in with the last what 3, 4, no more than 5 years, correct?
I was going to say 3 or 4 or 5 months.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But by you doing it so long, so give us a little bit about your background and how you got into it.
That's a good story. So I was a judge at actually UCI under a program called the Butterworth competition. It's funded by Paul Butterworth, and it's for startups. And there was about 5 judges that have been around for many years. And one of those judges is a gentleman named Neil Sahota. And I remember in 2014, we've been doing this for about 5 years, and judging these kids that are coming in with great ideas back then. So this would have been right, 2012, 13, 14, 15. It was 2014. Neil came in. We meet about 3 months, start preparing for the competition. Neil says, I moved away from IBM Global Consulting to IBM Watson. And we all kind of looked at each other and said, what the heck is a Watson? And Neil shared it's IBM's artificial intelligence. And you guys remember, but back in 2011, I think, or 2012, Jeopardy, they put IBM Watson on Jeopardy, and it won. And that may be the first time the world was it was taken outside of academia research and shared to the world what AI could do, but still people it didn't translate to business. So I spoke to Neil and I said, is there a thing going on here we should consider? Is there a business here? And he said, there's a lot of opportunity. So we started True Edge, which was an AI consulting company that would utilize, at the time we used NLP. Today it's all ChatGPT, you think of GPTs, you think of large language models. The buzzword back then was NLP, natural language processing. And the first time you could start having, you could use AI to train, it would create context and understanding when you smash it together with computer vision. And so those are the projects that we were consulting on back then. And I just stayed with it. It was, as you guys can imagine, and your audience can imagine, it was a lot different to talk about AI back then than it is today. There was no hype. It was so new. It really was something that people just didn't even have the ability to do it. And it wasn't easy back then. You didn't have the large language model where you just go in and you start querying and ask this and give responses. Back then you still had your programming, you still had your software engineers. They were the data scientists of the world at that time. And so that...
Yeah, I got a question. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
But first of all, what is a LLM? Because most of our audience is probably not that familiar with it. And number 2, all this hype we're seeing on YouTube and Facebook, and there must be 1,000 people that are doing what you're doing. So how do you look at that as far as the industry is concerned? Because I know that these guys are the same guys that were doing Bitcoin before that and fix and flip before that, and you kind of get my drift, right?
Absolutely.
How do you determine who's legitimate and who's not, I guess? So
those are 2 really, really good questions. So we'll start with unpacking with a large, because LLM, right? That doesn't mean anything to anybody unless you're in the industry. A large language model. So what I've been doing recently, I explain it this way. So we tried to mimic the brain's way to understand context and come up with a solution. So what does that mean? And that's what a large language model is built on. You think about the way that we translate words. This is the example I've been using. So somebody has a second language and they have to think for a second about, well, what's that language? What is car, right? Or whatever that word might be, right? Chien in French. But you have to think for a second. And your brain goes through all these little synopses of information to figure out, well, this is the word. And that's how we mirrored and built these large language models. So it's based on probability. The probability is 99.999% that this is what you want from me. And it just goes down a series of things instantaneously. And so a large language model is utilizing or trying to match how our brain thinks and processes to be able to provide outcomes. That's probably the easiest way to describe with an example. And so when we hear large language models, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic's Claude. These are the foundational big guys that are out there. These are the core players that are building everything, the best engineers, the most money, and then Copilot from Microsoft. And you get away from those, and everybody else, most of everybody else it could be considered almost a wrapper, if that makes sense. Almost like they're using that as under the hood. These main large language models, and they're building around them.
So it's kind of like building a website on one of the web builders, right? You're putting it on top of, or I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of
it's-
people are putting on top of, right?
Yeah, like a Wix, right? We build on top of Wix. Or another good example would be the word, if we remember the terms that came out 15 years ago, white labeling. So I'm
Yes.
going to white label this, right? And I'm going to sell my product, but at the end of the day, I didn't build the engine. I white labeled it, and now I'm going to pay some of a license fee back to these guys, and that's mostly what it is, because you can't compete with Google. You can't compete with Microsoft on Copilot. These guys have the best engineers, the most funding, the
Money.
most exactly, and tons of opportunity to acquire little guys, little companies, and put them in their portfolio. And so that's what we're looking at. And when I talk to people and say, if you're going to choose an AI platform, you also, depending on the size of the company, you also want to look and see who's behind it, because you want to make sure that if you're going to attach yourself with a large, with some kind of AI tool, AI colleague, I like to say, you want to make sure they're going to be around in 6 months to a year. Just like everything in technology that moves so fast. The next question is, yeah, it was a lot easier in 2015 to talk about AI, 16, 17, 20, even 21, because there wasn't, I mean, I feel like there's 100,000 people like me out there, right? Everywhere we look, we've got AI webinars, and we have AI summits, right, going across all over the world. And how do we differentiate from the noise, and from or how do I differentiate and from what's there? Well, number one, I do a voracious amount of testing and reading to look at the source. I like to read CB Insights. I like to read the Neuron. I like to every day, and the other thing we do is we do so many of these AI labs. So many. We do about 70 a year, and what that does is it gives us feedback of where everybody is in the marketplace. So, talk about this as an example. In 2023, we did one of the very first AI summits in Garden Grove. I remember it was October. So remember, ChatGPT just come out. People didn't really know about Gemini. It was there was no Claude. It was really still very early on, and we had about 200 people show up. And I remember in the beginning, because I kick it off, and I asked everybody, what do who knows this? How many of you guys are using this, right? Maybe 10% of the audience would raise their hands and say, I know about this. Today, I asked the same question, and 50% of the audience is using Claude, Gemini, Copilot, interchangeably. And so by doing all these labs, it helps me also. It helps us stay ahead of where things are going, and gives us direct feedback on how people are using this right now, so that we can think about what's next. Hopefully that answers the question for that you asked about that one.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you attach yourself to a consultant that can help you build the process? Because let's face it, you've only come up with about 20 terms in the last 5-6 minutes that a lot of people wouldn't even understand. So, some guy comes on the internet, right, on YouTube, and says, hey, I'm a AI guru. And I remember the guy was also one of the guys that first started buying and selling, fixing houses, right? But now he's an AI guru. Before that, he was a Bitcoin guru. How do you determine who's legitimate and who's not before you spend $2,500 to $10,000 or even $100,000 implementing some sort of AI strategy?
That's a phenomenal question. So I think there's 3 ways that I would highlight and recommend people to be involved in this. The first thing is, has somebody actually built and deployed a product? right? Let's remove from the training consulting. I'm not saying that's the only thing you need to do, but that helps, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, and it gets tough. I'll share that. This is where it gets tough because there's so many people jumping in. Obviously, years of credibility, right? If you can just get right down to the simple things. How long you've been doing this? How many years have you done this? Definitely references. References are more important than ever because when you're going into hiring somebody to do a build for you, you want to make sure. And the third thing, the fourth thing I would say is, and this is the one that gets people. All right, that's great. So and so. Help me understand the ROI. I want to know if I should even do this. Because I don't want somebody just coming in and building for the sake of building. We can do a lot of automation, right? We could automate a task from A to B to C to D to E. And every time we do an automation, if we're doing what's called a call, it's like those old cell phone minutes. Remember we used to pay for cell phone minutes?
Right.
Right? Well, now if you start to automate, there is a small cost. Those are the tokens you hear about, right? And so we may be, on a small model, it may not be a big deal, but if you have 100,000 different things going on, it could add up. So I want that person to justify and help me understand, should I even do this? If your audience is looking at that piece and they ask that question, that's a separating question. That's the one that kind of says, okay, this person knows it or they don't, and that's what I would recommend. If they can't answer properly, then you probably should move on to a different person to do the build.
You know what? I have a question, but we're going to take a break, but I just want to plant the seed for it. So when you say build, let's say, is that build similar to when you get someone to build a web page for you, a website for you? So is that a different build? So we're going to let you answer that question on the other side of this commercial break. We'll be back in 3 minutes. It's the E Factor Radio Show with host Ken, our special host Roger Lloyd. We'll be back in 3 minutes and some seconds.
KCAA Radio.
All right. Welcome back to the E Factor Radio Show. Okay, right before we went to break, I had asked Roger a question about building the, what he's talking about, the AI and building the website. Okay, are those two different things, or how does that work? A lot of times, like people like me who don't know.
No, that's a great question. So when I say build, it would be building an AI application of some kind to support your business. So I'll give you an example. Certainly over the last 24 months, the terminology agent and chatbot and all these things have been coming out. People are hearing them. So if we want to think of a chatbot as a 24/7 customer service rep or a sales rep. I want to train my chatbot to be able to do outbound phone calls. I want to train my chatbot to respond at 3 o'clock in the morning if I own a plumbing company, so I don't have to worry about a 24/7 call center and then dispatch, or, get the next person on there. So that'd be a building an application of some kind using AI.
Oh, okay, I get it. Because I know, like, sometime when I'm working or something, and I'm even sending emails, I'll make a sentence or a statement, and then it'll come on and say, no, this is a better way to say that. Do you want to change it? So it's actually taking what I'm doing and correcting the language or the way I say it to make it more professional.
Exactly, exactly. And so there's as we see the level of AI acumen increasing across everybody, then of course now people are asking for more complicated things. Can you automate my lead that comes in to verify that it gets into the CRM properly? Can you make sure that's a personalized email that goes back out? Can the voice bot chatbot can actually go out and, of course, read, or call out, and do all these things proactively? So we're starting to see that happening more and more. So that'd be a good
Hey,
example.
you're scaring our engineer because he's sitting there going, "Oh, Ken and Cornelius are going to implement an AI radio station. Does that mean me as the engineer are no longer necessary?" So,
Ah,
you
can
know,
I respond? I would love to
Yes,
respond.
please.
go
I
ahead.
would. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. And so I'm gonna use a sound engineer as an example. Think of a sound engineer. He's got a job, and they're sound engineer, part of one of the Marvel movies. What is their job? What is their job as a sound engineer?
To make sure all the sounds are correct at the correct time.
Exactly. And have we ever seen even a blockbuster movie have something that just doesn't match properly? Right? Every
Yes.
movie has an AI allows that sound engineer to never let that happen. They don't go away. But they now can create perfection every single time because they don't have that limitation of time to match anymore. So your engineer is fine. He or she just has to embrace the AI component of it to make things perfect or better than they were before. The
Well,
human in the
no,
loop.
it's okay because Joe's saying, "Hey, I manage the weekends, so maybe this will make my job a little easier. I can use the AI as my employee, right?"
That's exactly right. I like to say AI colleague.
Oh, colleague. Oh, they've been promoted to colleagues.
I like
Okay.
to, well, that's what I say. I don't know if that's the
Okay.
right terminology, but I like to say AI colleague. Like if I gave him 50 Jarvises from Iron Man to be able to do the jobs perfectly, right? What would you do? We'd all use those 50 Jarvises differently, wouldn't we?
Yes. Now, explain what a Jarvis is. Now, Cornelius and I know a little bit about it because you taught us. You gave us a little summary class.
Very
But
little.
but nobody really knows what a Jarvis is. So could you kind of explain why it's called a Jarvis and how you
Well,
put that whole concept together?
well, first off, I like Iron Man. So
Okay.
let's call it what it is, right? But if you go back to watching, when I first started trying to share what AI was or getting the concept across in 23, when early on, I was showing clips of Iron Man from 2012 and the way that Tony Stark would interact with Jarvis, which seemed funny, seems a little silly, right? But when you listen to what he was doing I think 2012, right? The way he tasked Jarvis, the responses he got back, and the way that he interacted to get the best outcomes was right on par. And so a Jarvis could be a prepackaged agent that's built around your persona. It's like a mini you. It knows you, it understands you, it has all your dialogue, it writes like you, it thinks like you, and now you've got this colleague that can now go do tasks on behalf of you. And I'm simplifying it, but that in essence is what it really is. And as we move forward in the future, basically what we're able to do for everybody is give them, instead of hiring 10 employees around them, we have 10 AI colleagues, each one having the ability to amplify your workload And will that replace people? In some cases, we're not going to see replacement. We'll see displacement, which is completely different.
Well, I'm older, so I understand what you're talking about. A lot of people, and most of the people who listen to this station are also older. They remember the days when we went from typewriters and secretaries
Yep.
to computers, and hundreds of people were laid off. And the second thing was middle management was totally wiped out by Microsoft with specific, software. And because they used to have people that used to do all the numbers after the numbers were done,
That's right.
they cost accountants. And now cost accountants could be done by somebody for minimum wage that didn't even graduate from high school by simply putting in the numbers and hitting the button, right?
That's right. So if we all follow your example, though, but what happened after that? All of a sudden, we had the software engineers, we had the project managers, we had the quality control people, we had a different level of sales that we needed to now deal with. So we created a whole new area of employment for those areas. Because at the end of the day, let's look at it from this piece. The human brain is the most amazing computer ever, the best. And it's not meant to do simple math. It's not meant to do simple tasks. It's just the way we are. So I think as we look into the future and going a little bit farther ahead, what we're going to see is the new workforce are really going to be creative engineers in almost every aspect of life. And they're going to be able to pull the best out of the AI. They're going to figure out how to, just like the best recipes for food. And I'm not going to stop. Do you guys remember the movie Dude, Where's My Car? You ever see that movie Dude, Where's My Car with Ashton Kutcher? Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Do you remember the scene where they're going through the drive-thru and they order the food and Ashton Kutcher's like, we'll take, 3 of these and 3 of these, and the lady's like, and then? Remember that scene? Did you guys see? I don't know if you remember that or not. So he'd order the food and then he'd be like, okay, and then she'd say, and then? I'll take some wonton cookies, and then? We'll take some soup, and then, no, I'm good, and then, well, that's all we need. Just wrap it up and give it to me, and then, it's a simple.
So it's never ending.
Exactly, and I think the people that can figure out the and then are going to be the ones that really move into a level of such productivity. They're going to be really highlighted in the job force for the next few years while we figure this out. It's the people that they push themselves and say, and then what else can I do? But always keeping in mind ROI. That's critical. So we're not doing it for the sake of doing it. So, and I think in the tech world, what I've been sharing with people is, we used to take 4 or 5 years to build a platform, right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
So during that period of time, we're raising a lot of money, we're investing a lot of money, we have no clients, and we have IP risk. So we have to do all this IP, right? And then we finally get to the point where we build the platform. Sales, go to work, because it took 5 years and so much money, right? Today, I think that was the end point. Today, it's so fast to build something because the AI code done properly. When you use AI agents to write the code for you, and you know how to make sure it's not spaghetti, like all intertwined. The quality control on it's the most important thing. The build is no longer the beginning. The build is the end, and I think the new applications, these micro applications are going to come out. The winners will be the ones that people can say, and then what else can I do to make the perfect experience? And then.
So in other words, AI is coming, displacing some, but at the same time, those who are able, is pushing them to think even more and beyond.
Exactly. And I hear on some sides, oh, AI is going to make us not that, we're going to lose it. We're not thinking anymore. And I'm on the other side, and I'm saying, actually, I think it's the other way around. I don't need to be doing this grunt work. Cost accounting was a great example. What I get to do is now have somebody, an AI colleague, do work over here. I'm thinking, what else can I do? What's the experience left? What's the research that I pull? How do I match this together? And so my brain is thinking in a very creative, different way, and it's not stopping so that I can get that outcome. And I think that's where we're going to see the future. The other thing is, we have a lot of robots coming. We have a lot of robotics going into all our places. So simple question. who's going to fix them when they break down? Because they will break.
Each other. They'll fix each other. Turn around and be
Maybe.
like,
Somebody's
Right?
got to supervise the whole thing.
Somebody's got to
That's gonna be a
supervise it. And we'll still always want empathy. We'll still want to have the human touch. So there's going to be that level of new jobs that I believe created. That'll be like, how do I add the human touch to this AI customer call center or whatever it might be to be empathetic? We still need all these extra things. So we're just going to see like everything. You brought it up. Every time we go through this, jobs are displaced, jobs are lost, and jobs are created. It's just, I think the difference now is we're moving so fast and people are having trouble comprehending the speed. And it's like you said, what's a large language model? It's very confusing. And I think that's causing more of the angst. But if we sit back and think about the typewriter, the calculator, like the manufacturing process, when we, all these things, we went through the same area. We'll figure it out.
Absolutely. And we're going to, speaking of figuring it out, I think we need to hit a break. But the question we're going to ask you after the break is, how can we get educated so we're successful with our AI implementation? I think you got a couple ideas.
Excellent.
all righty. We'll be back in a few moments. And this is a real human talking. I am not AI. Push the button.
KCAA Radio has openings for 1-hour talk shows. If you want to host a radio show, now is the time. Make KCAA your flagship station. Our rates are affordable and our services are second to none. We broadcast to a population of 5 million people. Plus, we stream and podcast on all major online audio and video systems. If you've been thinking about broadcasting a weekly radio program on Real Radio plus the internet, contact our CEO at 281-599-9800. 281-599-9800. You can Skype your show from your home to our Redlands, California studio where our live producers and engineers are ready to work with you personally. A radio program on KCAA is the perfect work from home avocation in these stressful times. Just type kcaaradio.com into your browser to learn more about hosting a show on the best station in the nation or call our CEO for details. 281-599-9800.
And now, the voices of KCAA with an exciting announcement.
Want to hear NBC News or KCAA anywhere you go? Well, now there's an app for that.
KCAA is celebrating 25 years and our silver anniversary with a brand new app.
The new KCAA app is now available on your smart device, cell phone, in your car, or any place.
Just search KCAA on Google Play or in the Apple Store.
One touch and you can listen on your car radio, Bluetooth device, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay.
Catch the KCAA buzz in your earbuds or on the streets, celebrating 25 years of talk, news, and excellence with our new KCAA app.
Just do it and download it.
KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
All right. Welcome back to the E-Factor Radio Show. I'm your host, Cornelius Bryant, Ken Powell, and our special guest, Roger Lloyd. You know, Roger, before you answer that question, before we went to break that Ken asked you, I don't know if everyone caught that, but I just want to highlight something that you said earlier about despite all the time that you've been in the business and all the things you've done, that you're still constantly reading and learning. And I think that's a lot of times what people don't realize that you have to do. Even though you've done all these things, you're not just saying, okay, well, I know everything, so I'm going to teach it. But you're steady, like you said, you're reading, you're learning, you're investigating different things, and you're doing all these things. So I just want to applaud you for that, because a lot of times we get to a point where we know more than everybody else, and we stop doing what got us there, the reading and learning part. But I just want to compliment you on that. I think that's very good.
Thank you.
Oh, well, yeah, I think that's incredible. I had that same issue when I took a class over there at the community college. We used to call them junior colleges. And
Right.
I was sitting right next to the university or the college president superintendent, and he looked over at me and he says, "So what class do you teach over here at the college?" And I said, "No, I'm a student." And he goes, "Student?" And I said, yes, I'm a student. And he goes, well, why would you want to do that? And I said, aren't we in education all about lifelong learning? I'm still alive, and I'm still learning. Okay, so let's get back to the question that I have, because it's really, we're going to look at it on 3 levels. One is, what would you suggest as far as do it yourself? Meaning nobody's going to help you. You're just going to go online and try to figure out the AI. Where would you start? Would you go to ChatGPT, Gemini, or what would you do?
Yeah, what I would recommend for everybody is, first off, go to the Google's AI courses. The fundamentals there are decent, and I would start with that and tell anybody just start there so you have some baseline before you start playing. Get some general understanding of before you go in the kitchen and start cooking up a recipe, of the understanding of how you integrate different foods to make sure that you deliver a great meal. So I would start with that.
Okay. Now the second thing is, I
Yep.
want you to talk about Santiago Community College District, because
Foundation.
they came up with. I mean, this is very innovative for a community college. I mean, I don't even see regular colleges doing this, or universities, let alone a community college district. So can you explain how a company can work with you, and actually, how does that work?
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I think a couple things. So it's really through our foundation, not the district so much as the foundation. And what we've done, I think there's 2 pieces. The first thing is, as people, and this will help everybody understand, before we even get into how the workforce applies, right, and how you can get up to speed, the first thing is we want to create context around where we want to go. So if I say Cornelius is a black belt, right? Nobody in the audience has to have ever taken martial arts to know, to have an understanding that he's tough. He can handle himself.
Yes.
He's got
Yes.
discipline, right? Okay. In the AI world, outside of technology, we don't have anything that gave proficiency levels. None. So when somebody says, I'm going back to your question, oh, I'm an AI person, against what? Where's your black belt? And if we use that analogy, or if we want to go with the interdiscipline, am I a bookkeeper? Am I an accountant? Am I a CFO? Right? So we came up with these levels, and we said level 1 is very, very basic. I just use AI for the simplest response. Level 2 gets into, okay, now I know how to make sure it doesn't hallucinate or make things up. That's the work for making things up. Many people have seen. I know how to use the tool properly. I know how to integrate research. I know how to make sure the citations are there, and I can get more out of it. Level 3 is when you do what we call stacking or layering, which I'm going to use more than one AI colleague to get the best outcome, right? An example would be, I'm going to take Gemini, I'm going to take their Notebook LM, you guys remember, for those that don't know, it can create a podcast. I'm going to take that into a text, I'm going to create a video out of it, and then a website. So I've done this all very quickly, right? That's level 3. Level 4 is smart automation, where I'm using connectors. And then level 5 is what we call AI coding. Some people say context engineering, some people call vibe coding. Doesn't matter. So the first thing is we want to come up with these levels so that people can say, I want to get to a, right? When anybody walks into a dojo, everyone walks in thinking, I want to become a black belt. Will they achieve it? That's a different story. But everybody wants to get to that black belt, right? And so they have to go through these things. So before we get into how do we work with us or how do we support that, first we have to figure out what levels do we want, right? And that helps our businesses understand context. I want my team to be over here at least to level 2. I'd like my marketing team to get to level 3. I would like obviously my engineers to be at a level 5 or level 4. So just a, kind of a little bit of, so we started with that fundamentals. So we have these 5 levels. The next thing we did is we have these series of courses we created, and this is through our foundation, and these courses are built around the levels, and so we use what's called ETP funds. And for those of your audience that are not familiar with it, 99% of the people out there are not. It is a California program. Employee Training Panel Dollars is what it stands for. And as an employer, when you pay your W-2s, your payroll taxes at a UI, a portion of that money goes to ETP. And that money is meant for workforce training under the right circumstances. If a company qualifies, and that can be used to cover 100% of training costs.
Wow. So excuse me. So that means if a company qualifies for this, that you can go in and train their employees, and the employer doesn't have to pay any money because it's already paid for.
That is 100% correct, Cornelius.
Yeah,
And
but
so
that's the good news. Now tell us what the bad news is
we have
for
to
small
qualify.
companies.
So smaller companies, we're currently in the process of getting what's called a multi-employer contract, which means we could combine them. All right, we're not there yet, but we could. But your general qualifications, okay, your general qualifications is 12 W-2s with a minimum of 8 hours of training. Can never be less than 8 hours, because otherwise you're not teaching, you're sharing, right? You're doing a workshop of just kind of like teasing, for lack of better words. Fundamental training doesn't really start earlier, and of course goes beyond that. Our level 2 training is 8 hours. Our level 5, the AI coding training, is actually 40 hours long. And we just came out with a new, I don't know if I want to call it the manager, like how do you ROI AI? We just came out with that. It's 16 hours long. And so that's a great question. How do you qualify? Well, the first thing is to reach out to us, and it's based on NICS code, and it's based on employees, and then we walk through the process. With a multi-employer contract, we can combine groups of businesses together to meet the minimums. As long as you have one W-2 employee, the owner cannot count under that scenario. So let's say Cornelius has, let's say he owns a car dealership, a used car dealership as an example. I was just driving down and you see those car dealerships. It's himself and nobody else.
Yeah, like VIP Autos.
Does he have an employee or is it just him?
Yeah, no, he's got 4 employees, but he's also one of our sponsors.
There you go.
So
VIP was VIP. What's the name of the company?
VIP Autos.
I want to say it again because as a sponsor of VIP Autos, right? So I'm driving down. Where are they located?
They're located in Hemet, California.
Hemet, California, right? So if he has 4 full-time W-2, you only need one full-time W-2 to do a multi-employer contract. Okay. Now, it gets a little confusing, I know, but here's the differences. If we can get somebody as a single employer to come in with the 12 W-2s, you can imagine the difference, right? It's a safe zone. We can talk about competitive information. They can share information that they wouldn't share if I'm in a group of 5 companies.
Okay, so we're starting to run out of time. So I want you to get to because Cornelius had this great idea.
Cool.
E-Factor is going to sponsor this training. Okay.
Oh wow.
And it's going to be part of that. I think you explained that. It's not going to be $30,000, right, to have you come and do the training, right?
No.
Can you explain how we can, self-fund, or how does that work?
Private pay it. It's a private pay.
Private pay.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the other option where you're seeing a lot of employers come in, or groups of employers come in for private pay. And that's great that you're sponsoring it, Cornelius. So
you.
where the number comes in, okay? In the open market for an 8-hour hands-on community lab, like you're learning with your laptops. There's not a presentation, and it's live, right? The average on average for a private company to come in, the fair rate would be around $2,000 a person, $2,000 to $3,000. That's the fair rate, the going rate right now. So if you have 12 people go in there, you're 20 to 30 grand.
Well, and that's what I thought when you first asked us to think about
You were like,
private pay. I'm thinking 30,000. It's
Yep.
it's
No
not going
problem.
to happen.
No problem. Yeah, no,
30,000,
put out
no
write the
problem.
check, right? Right.
I'll just write a check.
Yeah,
So-
Cornelius can write the check. Yeah.
So as part of the foundation, we are community driven. We are a nonprofit, obviously, as a foundation. So we're not going to go in with regular market rates. So we're somewhere for, depending on the amount of time that we're looking at, we're somewhere between $14.99, maybe $2,000 at the top total. And if you have if 20 people come in, that is the total group, the cost. It's not per person. So it's anywhere from 7.5% to 10% of what the normal rate would be, because our big thing is we'd love to use ETP, but if a company doesn't want to wait, they don't qualify. The other thing is we got to get everybody AI literate and effective.
Right. Absolutely.
We have to, right? The value add. We gave an award out in Garden Grove at the last AI event, And the gentleman's like, what I used to do for bids used to take me 40 hours, 20 to, I figure it was like around 40 hours. And, now he does it in 30 minutes. So his business is significantly better off. Significant, obviously, right? We need everybody to get that value. So that's why it's still very, whether it's private pay or it's ETP funded, it's not gonna hurt the pocketbook, I guess is where we're going with this.
Yeah,
Right.
and tomorrow we have a little group we're getting together, and then Cornelius is going to present this program. I think we're going to try to get it done in April, because the faster you get it done, the faster you become
using it.
the winner in this game, right?
Absolutely. It is I still see 24 to 36 months of competitive advantage gain before I think we level out. And people start there. So there's still a lot of time to really maneuver. And even if you're not looking competitiveness, productivity, right?
Absolutely.
Have you guys heard of Google Stitch?
No.
That's a new one. I want you guys to go play with it. I want your audience to go play with Google Stitch. It is now, you could build a website. It's actually Josh Garcia, one of my colleagues, who's an amazing trainer, like Fred that you guys just had a conversation with.
Tell us all about, what is it, Clarity.
So, yeah, Clarity is really cool, right? Google Stitch, you now just literally talk, and it's just voice dictation. I would like to build a website. I want to sell wallets, as an example. Holding up my wallet here. I want it to be high-class wallets for men. I want it to be, but I still want it to be, safe products, right? I want it to be organic products, sustainable. Help me build a website around that. And that's all you do. And then you just start iterating around that. It builds a website for you. Like, I don't like these colors. I want this. Try that. And you're literally talking with it the whole time.
Wow,
You're not
that's
typing?
great.
No,
Talking.
you're talking.
Talking.
You're talking. We did this live at an amazing conference, a student voice conference yesterday in Anaheim, and Josh did it live in front of everybody, in front of a group of people. He just said, we're going to build a website. He asked the audience, what do you guys want to build? The lady said, I want to build tote bags that are specialized for teachers. You got it. He just started talking. That was it in Google Stitch. And within a few minutes, we had the first website built. And then it was like, okay, we don't like this. Let's change the color. Let's do this. Let's try that. So it was made. Then we used Nano Banana to take a picture of a handbag that wasn't great and make it perfect and incorporate that.
Wow, that's great. You know what? When we go to commercial, we put your information up. But why don't you just give us your information in case someone wants to contact you to learn more about this, or even to sign their company up for it?
Yeah, because we need to do it pretty much right now.
We would. Oh yes, thanks, gentlemen. This is fantastic. So it's Lloyd, LLOYD, like Lloyd's of London, Lloyd _ Roger, ROGER at rsccd.edu. Rancho San Diego Community College District, rsccd.edu. 714-564-5203 is the number. And
in the radio business, you got to repeat it.
714-564-5203.
They don't have to be a member of the college to contact you, correct?
No, it's through our foundation. This is a foundation
Right.
program that we've got, so not at all. Anybody can come in and take advantage of it.
Alrighty, take advantage of it, audience. It's not going to be there forever.
And they can they can talk to you, can't they?
Yeah.
Well, they can talk to me, but not about that.
No, but I mean, you can hook them up with.
Yeah, hook them up with Roger. Yeah, I'll gladly connect you with Roger. Just tell him, I know somebody. Like, they say,
I know a guy.
I know a guy, right? So if you need
Just like those
some
mafia
information,
movies.
you can contact me and I'll contact him. I know a guy.
I
You
know.
know what? But before we run out of time, I just want to go back to one thing you said about at the second stage when you said something about hallucinations. So can you just briefly explain what that means?
Yes, thank you for bringing it up. So, first off, know that when the large language models were trained, they were trained to answer. They were not trained to say, "I don't know." So, in some cases, when we ask ChatGPT, Gemini, or whoever it might be, please do this for me, sometimes it'll make up an answer. Kind of like an employee that doesn't want to admit they don't know. If anybody's ever been through that,
Oh yeah.
right? They don't want to, and the right answer is, I don't know. Let me go find out for you. But sometimes, people are not comfortable doing it. Large language models don't like to do that. So they will make up things. And that's called hallucination. And so when you're doing what we call the prompting, whether it's voice or text, prompting is just simply the asking of a question, right? Please pull this research for me and smash it together with this research. It is imperative to have citations in there. Cite everything you bring in, everything. And then it's also important to cross-reference in another large language model to see if the response is the same, to minimize those hallucinations. And that goes back to the importance of human in the loop, the understanding of like that business. I don't know anything about what you know, Cornelius, so I might not pick up on hallucinations the way you would, but in your core, what you know, you'll immediately look at it and go, oh, that's wrong.
Right. Something's not right with that.
Something's not right. Exactly. That's a hallucination, and you're able to pull it. That's why the human in the loop is so important, why we're not going to go away.
Okay. All right. Well, are we out of time, Joe? Okay, we have a couple of minutes left. So what we want to do is just one more time, because this is just this is like me scratching this desk and you don't see nothing. That's this information. So I know people want to dig into it deeper, because I know even like myself, I don't really have a good understanding of it, because everybody's like, oh, AI is going to come and take over, and the AI is going to talk to the robots, and then the robots going to come and put us all in a tank and take over the world. And so in order to get to know more about it, just one more time before we go, let them know where they can reach you at. One more time, Roger.
Start with the phone number. You can reach me at 714-564-5203. Again, that's 714-564-5203. Or email me at Lloyd, LLOYD, _Roger, ROGER, at rscd.edu. rscd.edu. I know it's a mouthful. I always have to think about it myself. The best thing to do is call me, leave a voicemail, and I'm happy to work with anybody or talk to anybody to make sure they're going down the right AI journey.
And just remember, the E Factor is going to be sponsoring a AI training here in the next month or so. So stay tuned.
Right. And if you have any questions about that, you reach them at info@theefactorradio.com. Again, you can reach me to reach the man who I know at info@theefactorradio.com. All right. Well, we're going to wind it down for the day. Thanks again, Roger. Really appreciate having you on the show. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
And this is the E Factor signing off for March 21st, 2023. We'll talk to everyone later. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Get all the facts, all you need to know on KCAA Radio.
Here's the latest right off the kitchen table for this weekend. The Yucaipa Calamasa Community Yard Sale is happening again this Saturday and Sunday, March 21st and 22nd. Yes, that's right, March 21st and 22nd. The No Junk Yucaipa Calamasa Community Yard Sale from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. No junk, it's back up on top of the ranch at Fascination Ranch, 35600 Singleton Road in Calamasa. Fascination Ranch, 35600 Singleton Road in Calamasa. It's just off the 10 freeway. No junk, drive back onto the ranch off Singleton Road and find like new items, clothes, power tools, bikes, household items, vintage jewelry, designer goods, babies and kids stuff, sporting equipment, and so much, much more. The Yucaipa Calamasa